ability to move emotions and to move energy through our body.
Just a particular instance of the question, why do people enjoy various kinds of aesthetic striving play?
If you're working with the public, risk management is super important.
Identity, talking about how we perceive ourselves, other people related or not related to ourselves.
Oftentimes the beginning of your sessions are going to start with actually a great deal of conflict and blame if you don't address that safety early on and create a strong foundation and assess the couple very thoroughly before jumping into intensive therapy.
One thing that I want to scream loud is do not assume that Black women, brown women have their own natural sexuality. As we noticed in the beginning, education is not a thing. So when we learn, we're literally learning as we go.
I really believe that when people know themselves sexually, and part of this is about how can we get to know ourselves? Because when we know ourselves, then only we can communicate, right? Then when we know ourselves sexually, we can communicate what we know to another person.
Male and intersex children are still subject to forced genital cutting without any legal protections currently. There's been a lot of push both for male and intersex children to gain those protections, but nothing currently in America that has happened.
This tension that you're holding from whatever it could be, work, family, relationships, autism, anxiety. And it is a time to really just focus on yourself, build those skills and connect with yourself, the rope, and the person in front of you.
So how do we balance professionalism in the way we show up in the world and in the way we represent ourselves in our practice, being real people?
Traditional sex education, it only covers the mechanics of reproduction, which means that we're not taught to even explore or concern ourselves with pleasure for vagina owners.
This is where a bunch of circumcised men tell their stories and how this affects them.
Go from head mode to body mode. So drop from your head to your body.
That would knowing what your partner's into, feeling like your partner knows what you're into. How do you like to be kissed? How do you like sex to be started?
A big thing that Cass's model just kind of glanced over was things like stigma and how that mitigates how people discover themselves and who they are.
Before you ever have a conflict, you already know how you guys are going to resolve conflict.
Now we're seeing non-women of color getting rich of our characteristics that we were told to hate. It's not the idea that they are copying. It's the idea that no one is acknowledging how much hate we receive for it.
Maybe encourage them to go to tantra workshops, all those great things. Having that as a layer, you just would add that after some of these initial parts.
Awaken erotic pleasure. Why awaken? Because we have it there, but a lot of times it's dormant or numb. Some people say like, I'm not erotic at all. I don't have sensations. I don't have desire. But I'm like, we all have this ability to feel good. If you want to be more erotic, a more erotic alive, you have to cultivate that and awaken those sensations.
I think that when we're clarifying and saying consensual kink, we're leaving conceptual space for non-consensual kink, and that's not a thing. That's just called abuse. The word consent is built into the notion of kink, just like the concept of having three sides is built into the word triangle.